So we're starting right here on the show this morning. We're joined on the program by the National Publicity Secretary of the ADC, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi. He joins us virtually this morning. We'll also be joined by the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Mr. Felix Morka. But Mr. Abdullahi, good morning. Warm welcome to the program. Let me start by, of course, wishing you a happy Independence Day celebration. Having listened to the president for you, I know that you understand how these speeches are written. You've been on that side as well. What do you take home from the president's speech?
That question is for me, right?
Yes, Mr. Abdullahi, that's for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Happy Independence anniversary to you in the studio and to all Nigerians. I listened to part of the president's speech, and I also listened to your review of your review of the speech itself. I must say, as a citizen, not just as a party, as an opposition party spokesperson, as a citizen of Nigeria, I must say that I'm profoundly disappointed because, and why do I say so? The 65th anniversary of a nation like Nigeria, or any nation at all, is quite significant. But listening to the president, you would think that what he was delivering was his budget speech or his annual performance review, rather than speaking to a history of a nation like Nigeria at this critical time. I was waiting for when the president will anchor everything he was saying within a historical context. But apparently, the president was not able to rise above the limitations of his administration. He saw it as an opportunity to campaign. He saw it as an opportunity to say, oh, this is what we have done, this is what we have done, this is what we have done. And if that is not bad enough, much of what the president claimed to have achieved, we can't deny some of them, but majority of what the president has said, you analyze that this president spent 30% of the speech talking about the economy, and most of what the president said regarding the economy does not reflect the reality of Nigerians. And if you go out and ask the press and ask Nigerians the meaning of, for me, the way I would sum it up is that yet again, the president's speechwriters fail to understand the historical significance of this moment. And in speaking about the economy especially, the president appeared to be speaking to economic experts and analysts rather than speaking to the reality of Nigerians. And it's quite shocking, profoundly shocking indeed, that the president spoke about, you said that the president spoke about security. Only 44% of his speech was dedicated to the insecurity in the country. I think there's something quite misaligned in the president speaking at this time and just mentioning insecurity in passing, when every single day Nigerians live in fear. We had the story of your colleague that was killed as a result of the armed robbery attack in Abuja, the seat of power, just a few kilometers away from the Aso Rock Villa. My state, Kwara State, used to be one of the safest states in the country. Now whole villages have been sacked and people being murdered in broad daylight without any let or hindrance. Nobody is disturbing them. The president is talking about gallant soldiers. The number of our military men that are being killed every single day with impunity by bandits is unspeakable. And let us not make a mistake. Even the numbers that are being reported are grossly underreported if you know what is going on. So for me, I think it's a big disappointment that the president did not understand the historical significance of this moment and rather chose to use the budget speech to say, oh, this is what my government has done. It is not about the 65th anniversary, independent anniversary of Nigeria. It's not about his government. It's about the country. And the president failed to speak to the country. He failed to speak to the reality. He failed to speak to our past, and he failed to inspire our future. And I find it quite disappointing that the president is speaking like a party man rather than as a national leader that is occupying this seat at this time in history. So I will stop there if you have another, so that we can continue.
Okay, let me take this to Mr. Moka, but I'll come back to you, Mr. Abdullahi. Quite a number of things, perhaps specifics as to what you'll have loved to hear about the historical context, right? Because when we're doing the breakdown, we saw that the percentage of history and perhaps national unity was about 17% compared to the 34% on the economy, 17%. In fact, 13% for the youth and 17% for call to action and hope for the future. But Mr. Moka, for Mr. Abdullahi, he has said, well, first off, this was very low on historical context. This is meant to be a historical speech and not a budget speech, as it were. He says the president spent a lot of time talking about his achievements. What do you have to say to this, Mr. Moka?
Thank you very much, Kayode. Now, I listened to the president's speech, which I thought was, completely comprehensive and hit all of the necessary notes that are critical to Nigerians and critical to the moment and very critical to the evolution of our national life. There's no aspect that speech did not touch. Yes, he dwelt on the economy because the economy is central to the well-being of Nigerians. It's central to the development of our country. It's central to even an understanding of where we're coming from and where we need to go. I'm not sure what my dear brother is referring to as, the significance of the moment. What significance of the moment? I think I counted about 4 times that he used that phrase, significance of the moment. I was waiting and hoping that he would also actually just say what that moment is that the president did not speak to. Look, I think that anyhow the president gave this speech, I know my dear friend will have a lot to say because that's his job, speaking from the opposition. But I think that what we should be discussing is not the view of any single individual or group of people in any political part. I think it's what Nigerians think, which is why I hear you when you were asking, what does this all mean for our people at home? Now, Kayode, sometimes you get the answers to a question that you ask. When you ask that question the way you asked it, of course, you almost telegraph the answer to that question. Because we know that if things were different, if the economic numbers and indicators were different, we're all in the negative today, you will also frame a question to interrogate what the government has done or is doing. But the president is reporting numbers that are very, very encouraging, numbers that are pointing Nigeria in the right direction. And every country of the world has its moment, its economic, periods, the down times, the up times, and that time when people struggle and are hopeful that things change. We are no different. Even some of the richest countries in the world go through that. We have gone through that. And the president was very clear. He tracked that history and said, look, you know what? I was handed an economy that had been generationally battered by those who governed before him. And as president, he took an oath to tackle those problems for Nigeria. Because see, if the macroeconomic, framework is flawed, you cannot possibly begin to speak about the possibility of microeconomic, progress, where things on the dining tables, in the kitchen, everywhere, when it comes to the lives of people, begin to actually, see that transformation that we often ask, what does this mean for our people at home? What does it mean for the prices?
Mr. Moka.
Yes.
One of the things that Mr. Abdullahi has pointed out is the misalignment between the progress that the president is reporting and, the realities of Nigerians in their homes, on their tables, and in their pockets. So the question really is, how much time should Nigerians give this administration that is commending them for the sacrifice? How much more time, before they begin to reap the gains that is being talked about? And perhaps I should also remind you that Mr. President is perhaps the architect of the last administration in the merger of the political party and in selling former president to Nigerians. And Mr. President acknowledged in his speech that he inherited a near-collapsed economy. Shouldn't we be asking Mr. President to apologize to Nigerians for selling an administration that nearly collapsed our economy? I'd like you to speak to those issues, Mr. Moka, before we go to Mr. Abdullahi.
Yes, Bukola, please. When he was speaking, he didn't get an interruption. And the question you're asking was exactly what I was, framing and responding to. I was delivering my perspective on that before you came in with the question to, again, underscore the same point I was trying to make. However, I've heard this question a million times. And sometimes I wonder why, the question continues to come as you frame it. Now, because our democracy did not start with President Buhari. It began in 1999. This journey that we are on today began in 1999. And from 1999 to 2015, APC was not in government. APC came along in 2015, 16 years after this journey began. But when this question is framed, you frame it as though life in Nigeria began in 2015 when President Buhari was elected to office. It didn't. You frame the question as though all of the problems and the challenges we're dealing with today began in 2015. They didn't. You frame it as though between 1999 and 2015, Nigeria did not have any opportunity to set everything right, to abolish poverty, to abolish insecurity. You make it sound like those governments who governed for 16 years didn't have the duty to do so. But that duty belonged to APC in the last 10 years. You also frame it as though all of the revenues, massive revenues, oil selling for $100 per barrel for years under the PDP, that was clearly frittered away in profligate, reckless corruption. You make it sound like that did not exist, and that what we're dealing with today had nothing, no connection to that past. You see, what I'm saying is that if you must look at government as a continuum and look at the spectrum of time where government has operated in this country and not delivered the promise that it owed to Nigerians, then you must be fair enough to take that system as that time span into account. But when you constantly, punctuate it and say, 2019, this president must apologize. Apologize for what? Who apologized for the 16 years of PDP that led us to the point where Buhari himself was simply a stopgap president, was a placeholder to hold things in place so Nigeria does not tip over the edge? Who apologized for those years? You see, so I think that, this president is giving an account of his administration and giving a credible, believable, realistic, and, cheering account of the work he's done over the last 2 years to reset the economy that was battered and damaged, not just over the last 10 years, but over the last, period since 1999. So I think we need to be fair, and we need to be, not simply just, get pedestrian with the way we frame this as though Nigeria fell from the sky 10 years ago. It didn't. It didn't.
Let me bring this to you, Mr. Abdullahi. I'm sure you have one or two things to say about Mr. Moka's commentary as far as Mr. President's speech is concerned. But you also spoke to, what you perceive to be the President's inability to have spoken to the future of Nigeria, to the youth. But that is very evident, as the President drew to a close in his speech when he spoke to some of his administration's initiatives like NEL Fund, like the Youth Credit Scheme, and of course the other schemes to the NYSC as well. And there was also a call to action to the youth. So Mr. President may have, prioritized the youth, in the opinion of some, in this speech. Mr. Abdullahi.
Thank you very much, Bukola. Before I answer that question, I want to go back to what my friend Mr. Felix Moka said about administrative accountability. You posed the right question, that out of 26 years of democracy since 1999, APC has been in power for 10 years now running. And the party that Nigerians voted for was APC. Nigerians didn't vote for President Bola Tinubu's name. Nigeria voted for APC. He tried to defend that by saying the economy was battered before President Buhari came. And what President Buhari met was President Buhari was a stopgap president who then handed over to President Bola Tinubu that is now working heroically to fix the economy. The facts don't support that position. As he was talking, I was checking. By 2016, inflation was 17.6%. By 2017, it was 16.5%. By 2018, it was down to 10.9%. Today, the inflation is 22%. So what I'm saying is that the previous administration, the PDP administration, did not hand over a battered economy. That is the narrative they try to communicate, and they keep repeating, hoping that to become reality. But when you subject it to evidence, it actually does not stand. This economy, the APC administration in the last 10 years have been a disaster and been catastrophic for Nigeria. And the evidence is there in every single household in this country. So don't let them tell us that, oh, the 16 years, it was wasted. The 1999 to 2007 of President Obasanjo more or less created a new Nigeria in historical context. Almost every institution of government you can point at in this country today was created by President Olusegun Obasanjo. President Obasanjo got a complete total debt relief for Nigeria, which have now been reviewed by this administration. And every international forum the president goes to, he talks about debt forgiveness. And we're taking this debt, the world cannot see what we're using it for. But what I'm saying is that we should please respect facts. So when I said the president was not speaking to historical significance of the moment, I said the president has reduced the history of Nigeria in the last 65 years to a scorecard of his administration. And that is wrong. The president, who is a statesman, he ought to rise above partisanship. He ought to speak to the profundity of this moment. You need to speak to Nigerians. And for example, you are asking me, what is that historical significance? I just mentioned one now. Nigeria's democracy is, in the context of Nigeria's history since October 1, 1960, is 26 years now. In those 26 years, Nigerians have experienced coming out to vote for people who will govern them. But can we say that Nigerians have reaped the benefit of democracy? Yes, democracy has come to stay. And we have children, a significant population of Nigerians who we call democracy natives, who never lived under military rule. They are in the majority in this country today. But their experience of democracy is not commensurate with the aspiration and vision of democracy. So if you ask them, what does democracy mean to these younger people who form the majority, they will tell you, apart from coming out to vote, it doesn't mean much. The president had the opportunity of this anniversary to say this is what democracy represents. And yet we may be failing in delivering the outcome, the real outcome of democracy. But this is a historic journey. 65 years is too little. Is too little in the life of a country. The president should project a long-term vision that will continue to resonate with younger people long after it's gone. But he failed to do that. He reduced everything to what his government is doing in the last 2 years. I think Nigeria's history started in the last 2 years. So that is that about that. Now you talked about youth. Now let's talk specifically about education. What this administration is doing, they like to talk about NEL fund, that they are giving young people loan to go to school. Oh, that is very good. I mean, if government is giving people money to go to school who ordinarily would not be able to go to school, that is fine. But the fundamental question that you expect this administration to address is that every single year we are turning out about 500,000 core members from our higher institutions. 90% of who end up jobless. When are we going to match our economy with our product of our higher education? That's what you expect this government to be talking about. What kind of economy exists in this country today? What kind of sectors are creating jobs? And are we able to match the product, the content of our curriculum with the kind of job that Nigeria's economy is able to create? What is the point in giving degrees to children who will come out and have no job? You see young people who have degrees in economics, who have degrees in microbiology, and they end up and going back to learn how to make dress and how to do hair fashion. So if these are the jobs that are available to them, why don't we begin to redefine our content, the curriculum of our higher institution to fit the kind of economy? So what I'm saying is that we don't have enough time to talk about all this. But all these things that they parade as achievement, they are just superficial propaganda, a headline catching achievements. And I mean this very seriously, because if you want to talk about education, we can talk about it from today till tomorrow. Whatever they are doing, we are talking about 13 million children out of school. Has that number reduced? We're talking about education in the early days of the independence. Now, let's make this point before I stop.
Right.
In the early days of independence, Nigeria used education to redefine the society. Children from every poor home climb up the social ladder in the country by the mere fact of getting education. Children of farmers, of carpenters, by the mere fact of getting education, became the new middle class and dragged their family with them up the social ladder. Today, is that the case? To get basic education today, you must be rich. To even be able to give your children primary education, you must be rich. So what kind of achievements are we talking about? So we can talk about this for on and on and on, but what we are saying is that the president has yet again failed to address the issues that concern Nigeria. Nigerians are afraid. A recent report said Nigeria is divided today more than ever before. The reports are there. I didn't write them. The president didn't speak to this. He's talking about NEM fund. He's talking about 330 billion to poor household. Which household? What social infrastructure do we have to distribute 330 billion? Is that somebody is deceiving the president, or the president doesn't know what is going on?
All right, Mr. Abdullahi, let's throw this to Nigerians, because we asked earlier on for Nigerians to let us know what they think about President Bola Tinubu's 65th Independence Day speech. And it's important to sort of have this roundtable conversation, so Nigerians also get their voices heard. I mean, you have spoken, Mr. Moka have spoken, but how about Nigerians? And I must tell you that Nigerians are speaking this morning, quite a number of mails that have come in. I'll take this one from Idris Shonobi, saying, I watched the president's broadcast. I want to say I'm impressed with the nation-building effort. The president is someone I believe can deliver the dividends of democracy. However, this viewer says the setback Nigeria is facing is the lack of accountability of a state government and the federal government. The removal of fuel subsidy should translate to grassroots development, but that is not the reality. This user believes that it's due to corruption in the state and local governments. Also, the security challenge of the nation can't be solved by the FG alone. He says, we need a determined state and local government to bolster the FG effort. We need a working local government and state government to deliver the dividends of democracy. That's from Idris Shonobi. And
this one is from Olain Kaino, who says, I'm 44 years old, and for the first time since I was born, a president gave an independence anniversary speech that touched all critical sectors crying for help, showed empathy, and gave hope. Beyond mere rhetorics, I like how he backed up claims with numbers, an indication that the president is involved in the real governance and he gets feedback. I like that he acknowledged every cadre and group in Nigeria, the youth, students, workers, and businesses. I'm not a politician, but I see the economic trend and I understand the basis for the temporary pains. My hope feels renewed. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless Mr. President with wisdom and good health God bless all Nigerians. Now, it seems as if Mr. President's speech is like an elephant, so whichever path you touch may be different for each person.
And that's a good point you make, Bukola, because Sheson Rotimi, who's the next viewer, says, well, happy 65th independence anniversary to Nigeria. We're already aware, this is a sense of some of the things Mr. President mentioned in his speech. The major problem of this country is insecurity and corruption. What is it doing to address these monsters, Sheson Rotimi is asking?
Yeah, well, we'll put that through very shortly to Mr. Moka. But this one, let's quickly take it from Eligu Godwin, who says, good morning. The message from Mr. President was fantastic, but he failed to compare the quality of education then and now. The quality of education at that time was quite better than now. This is from Eliagu Godwin. Oof. You have the one from Zubairu.
Yeah, so the jury's out there on the education bit. But take a look at Zubairu Bello's message, saying the message is obvious, speaking to President's speech. The biggest achievement of his administration is reviving the economy. Happy 65th Independence Day to you all. So those are some of the mails. By the way, if you want to get your own voice heard as well, you can send us a mail right now to the email address on your screen. Let us know your thoughts on President Bola Tinubu's Independence Day nationwide broadcast. We'll be taking more during the course of the program, because this is not a program for just both of us and our guests. It's also for you as a Nigerian. Let us know what you think, the speech, and your own reality. But Mr. Moka, there's a particular mail that's basically asked about what the president is doing to fix insecurity and corruption. Mr. Abdullahi also talked about insecurity in his home state of Kwara, talked about our colleague that was killed in the armed robbery incident at her residence and eventual events that played out at the hospital. So these are real events that Nigerians can feel. So speak to us about what is being done to handle issues around insecurity and corruption, particularly now.
Kayode, let me say that, national reality for Nigeria is stark, has been stark for a very long time. Before I answer your specific question, again, let me circle back to what my friend was, some of the points he was making. President Tinubu took an oath to govern. He is governing. Other presidents before him took their oath of office to govern. They governed. My friend was a minister of the Federal Republic in one of those administrations. He was a participant in a lot of the historical mess that was made that are absolutely undeniable. You see, when people sit back because of their political purpose and they want to reduce progress and they simply conjure up what ought to have been done that they didn't do when they had the moment to do that. One of the key actors under his watch was the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who today is probably, seeking to run for maybe the 10th time. I know I'm exaggerating. But he had the opportunity, sitting as Vice President with the likes of Abdullahi, to fix this country, to all of the things Abdullahi, presented today as what this president should be doing. They had the moment to do that. They didn't. But now they're asking Nigerians to hand them a new opportunity to do what they could not do, for 16 years. You see, I'm going to leave it at that, because I think that some of the feedback you're getting from Nigerians contradict and nullify all of those sentimental and very provocative arguments that my friend was trying to make. Corruption. Corruption obviously is a horrific phenomenon that has undermined progress of our country for a very long time. Whether it was under the military system or under now our democratic system. Corruption has been a major factor in Nigeria's underdevelopment. And every president has come along has actually attempted to tackle corruption with varying results. But this president, on the first day as president, on the day of his inauguration, made decisions that hit at the heart of corruption, the very monstrosity of corruption in our country. The president touched it and took it down in a way that was, unprecedented. Took out fuel subsidy, tackled the second monster, which was, the whole dual, meaningless, corrupt foreign exchange system that we operated for decades. Is it when my friend talked about, in 2016, inflation was, this number, in 2010, inflation was this number, that was phantom economy. Those numbers came from an economy that was, not market-driven, economy that was dictated, where the value of our currency was simply fixed arbitrarily without reference to, Nigeria's productive capacity. And we had to then subsidize massively to maintain those, systems. You cannot then take the result in that era, where everything was controlled, managed, where it was not in fact responsive to the realities of, our economy, but was simply phantom systems imposed by those who govern at the time for their own comfort. You cannot take that to, compare to what is going on today, where the economy is standing firm on sound footing, on sound economic logic, on market-driven realities. You cannot compare. And so what we're seeing today is what you get, which is why investor confidence is surging today in our country, which is why all of the systems that benefited a few people to the detriment of the millions of Nigerians in the first subsidy system, in the really corrupt foreign exchange system, those have been eliminated, now paving way for the country to tackle more pedestrian levels of corruption. Because without taking those out, we didn't stand a chance at all to scratch the surface of corruption, because that was the breeding ground, that was the epicenter of corruption in our country. And the president, in one fell swoop, brought that down. And now we have nowhere to go but up. And which is why the president's speech today is resonating with Nigerians who listen, who are giving you feedback that this president and his presentation was struck the chord for them. So we are delighted that Nigeria is moving ahead, irrespective of the base sentiments of politicians who simply want to throw in the spanner to spoil the wheel so we can continue to be grounded, so they can continue to calculate their own political advantage. That is not in the interest of Nigerians, and Nigerians are speaking very loud and clear. I have also been reviewing a lot of commentary in chat rooms and all of that, and I can tell you that the majority of Nigerians today are excited about what this president delivered this morning, Independence Day speech.
Mr. Moka,
they're very excited about it.
If I may come in there yet again, I believe you have landed this time around. Some of the comments coming through from Nigerians, some of them are also reflecting on the need for results as against the economic gains that the president is posting. But just before I take this to Mr. Abdullahi, I'd like you to speak to a sticking point in the administration's reforms, which is, the corruption aspect. You speak about the need for fuel subsidy. Of course, we all see the consequence of fuel subsidy. But some would say that even the former administration prosecuted oil thieves. If the administration acknowledges that, the subsidy regime was corrupt, why has it not prosecuted fuel subsidy thieves? If you can answer that in 60 seconds, such that I can take it to Mr. Abdullahi.
Just to be clear, I understood you. I heard you right. You were asking why they have not prosecuted the oil subsidy thieves? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, Mr. Moka.
Look, Bukola, don't forget, this is a president that just met his 2-year mark and he was pushing to 3 years, he was elected for a 4-year term. Now, are you suggesting that the decisions made to take out fuel subsidy and flow the naira with the result we see now that are yielding positive, benefits for our country? It's one thing at a time. Now, can you imagine? People say, look, fuel subsidy should have been kept, and even when the country was, near bankrupt, we should have just maintained it so that, Nigerians can continue to have, cheap access to fuel while the country, just set itself deep in rot. This president said no. So look, we will get there. If you're not seeing that yet, we will get there because, the president wants, first of all, to hold still, set the economy, reset the economy as he's doing, and have the results begin to show. And I think incrementally, over the next, the remainder of the 4 years that he has as his term of office, I believe that, decisions we made that touch on the micro crimes committed by individuals. But right now, the big picture, resetting the economy, I think that's the priority which the president is tackling, and rightly so.
Again, the hope factor is coming through. But let's take it to Mr. Abdullahi. Mr. Abdullahi, I'm sure you have quite a number of reactions to Mr. Moka's commentary. Please go ahead.
Well, I was a bit surprised that Mr. Moka went for my personal. I must have said something that annoyed him and made him go for personal attack. Well, I don't know how much Mr. Moka know about me. I didn't serve with President Obasanjo or President Atiku Abubakar. I served with President Goodluck Jonathan. And lest you forget, I was Minister of Sports and Youth Development, and my records are there. And your administration has not come close to what we achieved in those years in sports. So let us leave that, unless you want to give me opportunity to beat my own, to blow my own trumpet. But I'm not going to waste time talking about that this morning. We see, let us get some things clear. You talked about corruption, and Mr. Moka's defense or reaction is that the president ended subsidy. And that is the evidence that the president was out to fight corruption. But one thing we need to understand is that there's no country in the world that does not provide one kind of subsidy to its people, its most vulnerable people. What this government has done is, instead of sanitizing the subsidy administration, which is the problem. Subsidy itself is not the problem. Oh. They have not said subsidy is the problem. They are saying that it's the administration and the management of subsidy that is the problem. Now, instead of dealing with the management and the administration of subsidy, they found it easy to remove subsidy, and of course we've seen the catastrophic effect that has had on the livelihood of Nigerians. Right. Now, to add to that, at the same time, the government went ahead and floated the currency. Now, the twin effect of that is what has created the economic calamity that Nigerians have found themselves today. Because when you do any government, that no matter how well intentioned your policies are, what you expect that the first thing you will consider is, how is this intervention going to affect the lives of Nigerians? Now, they said they are no longer paying subsidy, but what you will expect is that because they are no longer paying subsidy, this is the outcome. This is what we have said as a result of no longer paying subsidy. You expect that hospitals will probably. I agree that all these are not just the responsibility of the federal government alone. Right. The state governments are also making more money than before. But the most important point is that, in terms of tackling corruption, the corruption under this administration is still enjoying so much prosperity than ever before. And I'll give you two instances.
Mr. Abdullahi, we have to anchor in 30. Mr. Abdullahi, pardon me, we have to anchor in 30 seconds so we can also take the views of other Nigerians. So if you could just keep it in that time. Thank you.
So I was saying that the president mentioned the Sokoto Calabar, Sokoto Badagry Sokoto Highway. How much was that contract awarded for? Who was it awarded to? Where did the bidding take place? What is the provision of the Public Procurement Act? Did the Public Procurement Act allow for a government to award a contract running into billions of dollars without open and competitive bidding? How many of these projects that this government is talking about have been subjected to open and competitive bidding? If that is not corruption, then what it is? So we can go on and on, but that is just one instance. So when they are talking about them doing, and when I'm talking about this, Mr. Moka think we are saying this just because we represent the opposition. No, we are also Nigerians primarily. Right. And it's not everything we say that is about politics. It's also because we have a stake here, we have children here, and we want the president to succeed. We want him to govern. So when we say some of these things, it's not because we don't want him, it's because we want him to do better and we are calling attention to it.
Well, we have to anchor now, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, and thank you for your time. I mean, we could go on and on about this, but I think the major factor here that binds us together is Nigeria and our love for our nation. So wherever we are, whoever we are, we must do our best to ensure all hands are on deck. Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi, spokesperson of the ADC, we have to thank you so much for your time. Former minister as well. In fact, I could go on and on, as well as Mr. Felix Moka, the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, a happy Independence Day celebration to you.
Thank you very much. Happy Independence Anniversary. Happy Independence Anniversary to my brother, Felix Moka.
Thank you so much, Bolaji and Kayode.
Thank you very much. Oh, there you go. That's what really matters, the love for a nation, love for country. But let's take some more messages from you. Atiang Uje says about the president's speech, of course, that the part I love the most is where the president said our economy will not only be based only on fair statistics until there's food on the table for every family, electricity for our industries, and security in our communities.
That's at the heart of the matter. I was trying to let Mr. Moka know that there's a bigger umbrella of the comments coming through. This one is from Udoma Mwangi, who says, in his broadcast, President Tinubu highlighted impressive economic milestones, a 4.23% GDP growth in Q2 2025, the fastest in 4 years, a 44.3% surge in trade surplus to 7.46 trillion naira, and a booming stock market reaching 142,000 points. He spoke of sovereign credit upgrades and reforms bearing fruit, urging patience as we see light at the end of the tunnel. Yet for families like mine, these figures feel like distant echoes from another Nigeria.
I must say that Udoma Wagi's message is even much longer than that, but we just took some excerpts from it to help you get a sense of that message. Max Inode says the president's Independence Day speech is quite savory. Interesting choice of word. However, the analysis made throughout the speech is deceptive and misleading, he believes. The successes mentioned are like taking 10 steps backward and 1 step forward. It's this administration that has brought Nigeria and Nigerians to this pauperized state. Nigerians are poorer now than were before. This administration was birthed in 2023. This administration continues the negative trajectories of its predecessor, this user says. I must also say that it's a very interesting scenario when you look at the figures actually, because the states will say they are earning more, for example. But again, the devil is in the detail, because when you look at the value of the naira itself, which is what they usually multiply to get the figure, you see that that has also reduced, by extension, increasing what they earn in naira terms. I could go on and on about this, but statistics and data can be an ass.
We have just a few seconds more to take one from Ungwakwe Ebenezer, who says, as a public office holder, you will never get it 100% right, but I extend my commendation and respect to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for this visionary dispositions. His words reflect a deep commitment to nation building, unity, and ensuring that progress reaches every part of Nigeria. You know, and this pretty much shows that the administration is enjoying a good dose of goodwill from Nigerians. If you consider that these are views aggregated from a cross-section of Nigerians, there is, you know, the commendation part, and there is the part about the concern, about the disconnect between those figures and reality. But we hope that the administration is also, you know, watching things as well and putting the necessary effort in order to ensure that results match the efforts and the Nigerians can smile. I think that's at the heart of the matter. Kayode.
There you have it. So keep your messages, mails coming in, your thoughts and take on the president's speech and the reality. As we said earlier on, it's almost like an elephant. Depends on where you feel, and that's how you interpret the president's speech. But as we said earlier on, if you do a proper analysis of the speech, 34.8% of the president's speech was on the economy, 8.7% was on education, 4% was on security. The youth took 13%. History, national unity, which is the significance of this occasion, took 17% of the speech. And of course, hope and the call to action was 17% as well. So we'll take more messages when we return, as well as pay attention to the security situation in Kwara State. What exactly is going on? Well, the government will be joining us to speak about the security situation there. Stay with us. We'll be right back.